So in this video, we're going to be looking at multiplying and dividing decimal numbers by powers of 10. So the two learning goals for this video are that you need to make sure that you know that all numbers have a decimal, whether they're whole numbers or decimal numbers. But also you'll need to make sure you understand the movement of the decimal point. We'll get to that a little bit later. But let's look at this first learning goal here. So we have two numbers here. Let's say we have 2.38 and 458. Now both these numbers have a decimal point. So here in this first one we can clearly see the decimal point. We know it is in here. But these numbers over here, they also have a decimal point. The decimal point is always after the whole number. So in this case, 458, if you had to place a decimal point there, you'd put it after the whole number, and effectively the zeros would just continue on forever. So it's basically just a way for us to understand that all numbers have decimal points. Instead of having to show that each time, we usually just leave that out. But all numbers have a decimal point. Okay, so when we're timesing or dividing a number by a power of 10, now power of 10 numbers are, for example, 1,000, 100, 10 squared, 10 cubed, except those ones are powers of 10. Now, when we multiply numbers or decimal numbers by those digits, you just need to know a couple of simple rules. Now, the first one is when you're multiplying a number, you're going to move the decimal point to the right. The decimal point will move to the right the number of zeros in that question. If we're dividing, then we move the decimal point to the left the number of zeros in that question. So make sure you write that down because they're two very simple rules. If you know them, you're going to be able to get all these different types of questions. So what we're going to do here, we've got two sets of numbers. We're going to multiply both these numbers by 1,000 and we'll use that rule. I'm also going to divide both these numbers by 100 and we're going to use that rule as well. So again, when you're multiplying, you're making your number bigger, so the decimal place moves to the right. When you're dividing, it makes the number smaller, the decimal place moves to the left. Let's do this first one here. So 2.38. So we have 2.38 times by 1,000. Now I'm going to make this number bigger and I'm timesing it by 1,000. So there are 1, 2, 3 zeros. This decimal place is going to move 3 to the right. It's going to go 1, 2, 3. Now what we do here is that any space that we have, we simply just fill with the 0 and the decimal place moves to that new location. So I can get rid of this one. So my answer now is 2.38 times 1,000 is 2,380. If I was dividing that number by 100, I'll have 2.38. We're dividing, if the decimal place moves to the left, we're making it smaller. So it goes 1, 2, new decimal place goes in there. I fill that space with the 0, and my answer is 0.0238. So if we have whole numbers now, so if we had 458, let's see what that would look like if I multiply by 1,000 and divided by 100. So I'll write down my number, 458. If I times that by 1,000, I'm making the number bigger. I'm going to move the decimal place to the right, 1, 2, 3 zeros. So it starts here, 1, 2, 3. Fill in the missing spaces with zeros, and the answer is 458,000. If I was doing the same by dividing by 100, remember the decimal place is there, moving to the left, 2 zeros, 1, 2, my new answer is 4.58. So all you need to really do is understand those two very simple rules. When you're multiplying, the decimal place moves to the right, and when you're dividing, the decimal place moves to the left. That's only when we're working with powers of 10. We'll be getting into multiplication with decimal places in the next unit.